time and space, through everything you've been through in your life, till you finally ended up at a time
Hmm.
that you always wondered how it was going to happen. I want a
Commencing.
better life, but how's it going to
En-
happen? Maybe
enter
if I keep
spaceship.
enter what?
Enter spaceship.
Yeah,
Um,
take off.
how did they call the in Star Trek when they went like really fast with the Enterprise?
Warp speed or something?
Warp speed.
I don't know.
Warp speed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Great Transition, everybody. How are you today? I'm seeing some folks here tuning in kind of slowly today on YouTube and
Yes, little.
Facebook. What's going on, people? Come on, come on. Tell us where you're tuning in from, where you're watching from, and as always, if you feel that this world is going through something and you want to put the pieces together, you've come to the right place. This is where we come together above all possible differences, beyond religion, beyond culture, beyond politics, beyond whatever this world tells you that separates us. We're here to discover that we're actually one, and that's where nature is pushing us. So, welcome to the Great Transition, everybody. How are you, Seth? Are you a little
No, I'm
tired?
good. I'm
Are
good.
you
I'm wondering
tired?
if
Are
the
you
change of the logo confused our audience, who normally goes through their scroll and is looking for that logo, and they saw that they didn't see it. Did it change, right? Because
mm.
I when I pulled it up on my Facebook, I
The
looked like it changed a
thumbnail?
little
You
bit.
mean the thumbnail?
Yeah, the thumbnail. Yeah.
Uh yeah,
Okay.
yeah, might have. You know
Could
what
have
did?
been that. Could have been a solar
Oh
storm. We
no,
don't
no,
know
no,
exactly
no.
what.
You know what it is? It's the time shift. It is the time shift. There's a weird thing that's happening with YouTube. On Facebook, when I set up the broadcast, everything was fine. On YouTube, it's very weird. Like I typically schedule the broadcast in advance, and it kept showing me the wrong time. I think there's something going on
So you
that,
guys, well, here's the thing. We didn't change our time. You changed your time yesterday at
yeah.
midnight, right?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, isn't
Isn't
that
it?
interesting? Like
Isn't it?
your time changed, but our
Yeah.
time didn't change.
Isn't it like I can't get my head
Is it
around
everyone but
whether
America changed?
uh
Everyone but the United States changed?
I don't know if it's the whole world, but yeah, Israel definitely moved now to winter time or standard time, and this is that weird period of time where now the time zone difference between us is 6 hours instead of 7, and it's very confusing. Um so yeah, yeah. Yeah, anyway, yeah. Like normally for me, the show would be an hour later. For you, it's the same thing.
What
So
time? What time is it for you right now?
it's 8 p.m., 8:05 p.m.
Okay, and it's normally 9 p.m. for you, so everything is back an hour. Yeah, you gained an hour. We gained an hour. Okay.
Anyway, it's an
Anyway,
interesting
so maybe
concept,
that's what it
though. It's
is.
an interesting concept if you want to talk about it. Gaining time, isn't it? Isn't it kind of weird and
Um,
and gaining time? What does it take to gain time, and what does it take to lose time?
I
What would you
think that
say?
the reason that they set it up here is just to make the workers more productive, so they get an extra hour of daylight. But actually, the concept,
Hmm.
according to what we're talking about, where we're going to actually find, we're not interested in just trading like, last year I had a crappier car and this year I have a better car, or last year I like my apartment wasn't so great and this year my apartment's great. We're not talking about just trading up stuff, carbon, one carbon prize for the next carbon prize. Um, we're we're looking for, well, basically our reality has six axes, right? Like the three-dimensional
Yeah. Okay.
reality has like six axes, like
Well,
forward and backwards,
it's
right?
more like the movements in which you can move your body, but
Or six
like
axes, yeah. Within, I mean, that's where we
like
can move.
yeah, like geographical axes, let's say. But
Okay, well,
you can
I don't know
add
why you keep
time
trying
in
to
there. You
put me
can
in a
add.
rabbit hole, a pigeonhole. I mean, that's a hole. What do you mean? It's we can only go three dimensions. That's it.
No,
I mean,
but
sorry, three dimensions, six
you
axes. In the
yeah,
three
that's
dimensions,
for movement. Yeah, okay, movement.
well, what else is
That's
there?
well time. Um, you know, Time, yeah. Time's another
Okay,
one.
tell me all of the possible dimensions that you think we can move in right now, and then I'll break it open.
No, right now we can't move through time, or at least not consciously. But,
Ah,
you
right. We
know,
can't go faster, slower, but we are moving. Right. Okay.
mhm,
So you had said something. I think this is related to the time zone change, but there's actually endless axes that we don't feel as creatures. Um,
mhm,
Actually, just the fact that we're in this protein body where we basically spend our entire life just trying to make it into the best, most efficient, sexiest, richest, most comfortable protein body ever. It turns out we're doing that all within these six axes, these three dimensions. And it turns out that there's like an eternal amount. We're in a totally round, integral, infinite reality outside of this protein body. Isn't that interesting? So imagine you take some essence wherever it started from in the thought of creation and wherever that is. We'll talk about that one day. You take a tiny spark of it somehow and stick it inside of a protein body, and he's like banging off the walls. This little infinite piece of infiniteness is like banging off the walls, and he can only go up and he can't even go up so much. I mean, you can. That's I mean like I can go like a few inches. You can't really go up much. You can go down a little bit. You can go forward and backward and left, right, but he can't really go far. And yet we're talking about, is this a good segment I'm doing right out of like um
I
out of
am
the time change on the clock?
I am eager to see where it leads, where it
Um
goes.
well,
Yeah,
okay, so
I'm still waiting for the answer of what will replace capitalism. Is what Matthew Korean says. If you want to gauge people's people's
you know what would
engagement
be a
with what
really
we're talking
incredible
about.
thing we can do on the show is people could
Yeah.
ask 20 different questions from health to relationships to money to beyond time and space, and with one answer we could kind of like tie every single thing together. So beyond beyond these six, this little piece of the thought of creation is inside of this protein body, and it can move in a few directions. We're talking about in this great transition, we're not just talking about giving this protein body some new cool shirt or some new great job. Before he used to work at a car factory producing cars that ran on gasoline, and now he works at a Tesla factory making cars that run on electric. Or maybe they don't need him on the production line because all the robots are on the production line, so he gets a better job and he's an engineer now, and he just sits in front of a computer all day programming the robots. That's not what we're talking about in the great transition. We're talking about all the other dimensions. We're talking about all of the other reality that opens up to us. So it is actually a clever thing of the government to give the farmers an extra hour of time, to give the laborers an extra hour of light, so you don't have to go to work when it's dark out and leave the office when it's dark out, and
Okay.
have, in addition to your corona anxiety and your corona depression and what is the word, your corona fatigue, you
Corona
also
fatigue.
now, yeah, you also
Yeah.
now start working, it's dark outside, and you finish working and it's dark outside. You don't even get any sunlight. So the government made a clever thing. They extended the day a little bit. We're talking about extending reality so that it always feels like we always see the light shining, even if it's dark outside.
I
That's
buy
where I was trying
that.
to go.
I buy that. I
Can you get
buy that.
closer
I
to
buy that
your mic?
segue. Yeah, I buy that segue. Really? You like more? Is this good?
I wasn't hearing you. It wasn't the volume. It's just I wasn't hearing you at all.
Oh, okay. I think it's not a volume thing. How is it now? Good?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, we're good.
All right. So check this out. Um, can you see this? Can you see what's happening here?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So, as the coronavirus surges, a new culprit emerges, pandemic fatigue. So, okay, so they have a term for this. And this is basically the exhaustion and impatience that people all around the world really are feeling. And some epidemiologists and sociologists are measuring that with all kinds of questionnaires and reports. But the bottom line is that people are becoming noticeably exhausted from the pandemic. They're becoming COVID fatigued. They're becoming COVID exhausted. And what they're relating to here is, is how that poses an issue in terms of, people following the laws of social distancing and masks and all that. But since we are dealing with the great transition, I was interested in just that term, pandemic fatigue, and thought about what does that mean for us humans, emotionally. Let's get into that. It's not just that we are tired from wearing masks and keeping social distancing and doing our meetings on Zoom instead of physical meetings, or not knowing what to do with the kids and all that. There is a deeper emotional development that's taking place right now, where you can't be in a state of constant alert and constant, always watching out for what's going to happen at all times. You know what I mean? You can't, like, if someone tells you there is a fire outside your house, you know, um, so you're gonna be on high alert. But if this state continues, if you see that the fire is
Mm-hmm.
there, and it just keeps happening and happening and happening and happening, at some point you're gonna go like, okay, but what about just doing the things I want to do? What about doing the things I like doing?
There's a couple there's a couple angles to it. So that's the one angle. The one angle is like, okay, well the fire's there and then it's still there and it's still there. So I kind of accustom myself to it. There's that angle to it. There's
Yeah.
also the other angle, Asaf, which is um, if you're constantly in fight or flight, like you're constantly in a panicked state, that adrenaline in your system all the time wears you down. So, like, on the one hand,
Mm,
we're kind of becoming numb. Like, if I just keep poking you in the same spot, after a while, you don't even notice it, right?
that's a
Like,
good
it
point.
hurt for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't hear you when you're speaking.
What's going on?
I'm
I
not
think
sure.
there's an
Now I hear
internet.
you. Now I hear
There's
you.
an internet thing, I think, on your side. You're a little choppy.
Oh, oh,
You're a little
okay.
choppy. That's what's happening. Yeah, I see your those signs that say that your internet health is, maybe your internet has COVID. But
Okay. Well, I'm going to do my best here then. There's the one thing, which is like if you keep poking someone, after a while, they just don't feel it, right? And there's the other thing that if you're constantly uh, in a panic state,
yeah.
constantly filled with adrenaline, it wears down on you. It wears down on your patience. It wears down on your physical health. I mean, we did lots of shows at the beginning about how the mental state and the emotional state affects your ability to fend off um, viruses and disease and stuff like that. I was once like in a super heightened state. I was really excited about something and I like stepped on a piece of glass and it didn't even cut me. I don't know. I mean, this could have been just like total coincidence, but I think that even the body just
Did you wear
deals
shoes?
with.
Did you wear shoes?
I didn't have shoes on at the time. No, I didn't have shoes on at the time.
Where
The
can
point
you
is
tell us
that
more? Can
the
you tell
point
us
is that
more about
like
that story?
what?
Can you tell us more about that story?
No, no, it's not important. The point is that I was
Okay.
really surprised that somehow, like in a normal condition, my skin would have cut. But I even think that the skin, everything just becomes more resilient when you're in a very heightened state. Your
Yeah.
body just feels and behaves resilient. Alternatively, everyone has had the experience like you slam your finger in the door and then you turn around and bump your head and then like you get a bad phone call. It kind of feels like what is happening is like these just waves of bad things, um, all from our state. So you know what, I keep lagging. I'm gonna disconnect and reconnect. You
I'll
got this for a minute?
let's do this quickly. Yeah, I'll read some of the chats here because I think some interesting things are coming up, and we'll yeah, just go for it.
Okay,
Just
be
go
right
for
back.
it. Yeah. All right. So Brandy Alexander says having meetings on Zoom has opened up a door to people like myself for meetings I'd never have had access to prior to this COVID shutdown. That is the gold in it for me. That's a good point. That's a good point. Everybody's schedules and social fabric of in your life, your social fabric in your life is changing due to COVID. That is true for everyone, for better or for worse. Different things are happening. Sushi Smita said, "Yes, it's correct, Asaf. I feel it. Get tired of being alert." Yeah, yeah, it's exactly
She's with
what we're
us
talking about.
on Kabu. I see her over there.
That's awesome. I don't think I saw you here before on the show. Anyway, Seth, I see you're back with us. Do like a quick test kind of thing. I think you're better now.
Hello, 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 hello. Can you hear me
Yeah,
okay?
can you
Everything
hear
good?
me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yep.
think we're good. I think we're better. Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
so we can't be on high alert the whole time, right? Um, and one angle is that we become numb, you said. The other angle to this is that, it just the adrenaline in your body wears you out, and it's not supposed to be a constant state, a long-term state. It's supposed Fight or flight is a short-term survival mechanism, you know that has been with us for the last 200,000 years, since we were being chased by saber-toothed tigers or something of that nature. So now, does that make sense? We good? We know where we are? Yeah, okay. So what I'm saying is, okay, here's another angle, though. Here's another angle. We are tired. There's like this general fatigue, as they're seeing now with a lot of statistics. There's this general sense of fatigue and tiredness, and I would even dare say despair, that is descending on the human population on the face of planet Earth right now. Um, and that appears, I'm calling it fatigue, because generally the headline is, we're tired of COVID. We're tired of this weird situation. But we're tired of a very complicated situation, and everyone takes it in a different way. So, on one hand, you can see people who are frustrated, uh, angry, stressed, even, and you see that kind of manifestation. Think people who find an outlet in going out to the streets and maybe protesting, or even violence incidents that occur. Other people at the same time, affected by the same influence, will exhibit different kind of feelings altogether, but it's kind of the same influence. And yet you can see people becoming more silent, more kind of depressed, even to an extent. You
Even
know?
even the concept of going back, I mean, it affected the mind so much that even the concept of going back, like, what am I
Mm.
going, like, the better
Mm.
choice is to go back to the rat race. Like, that's my better option right now. Because when I was in the rat race, I always thought that my better option would be like some
That's a good
reality, some
point.
vacation realities.
That's a good point, man. That's a good point. I think we have sort of passed, or are passing the stage of the knee jerk reactions. You know what I mean? Like, the immediate reaction when the pandemic hit is, when everything broke out, it's like, how can we, as quickly as possible, just get back to normal? When does this, okay, what do? We need to lock down quickly. Okay, everyone, at
The
first,
virus is the enemy.
yeah,
Get them.
virus is the enemy. We have to win this war. Let's do what it takes. Let's get this over with as quickly as possible. Get back on track. That was the kind of common people, common denominator, knee jerk reaction. And now, almost what, 8 months into this? 8 months into this thing
Eight
globally?
months. Yeah.
Wow, wow.
We were
You
together.
know,
We were together at the big conference with like over people from 100
yeah.
countries coming together for unity in Tel Aviv. There, that was in February, in March,
February,
in February.
February,
So
February.
the
Huh.
virus,
Yeah, you were
February
here. You
this year.
you 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 were here,
I
right,
was,
sleeping right there. in
Staying in your
it,
apartment. Yeah. So
yeah,
the
in
virus had started in China already before that, but I think we
right
got all
before
got
that.
locked down
Right
right when
before
we got
that though.
home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right before that. So 8 months into this, there's only, there's only such amount of time where you can hold a knee jerk reaction, you gotta. So after a while, after 8 months, let's say, I think people are integrating some thinking into the reflex, the knee jerk reactions. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, we want to go back to what we had, but do we? What exactly? You kind of, when you're in a different situation
What are
for a long time, you start losing the longer you are in a new state, you start losing your visceral memory. Sure, you don't become completely forgetful. You don't completely forget what had the world 8 months ago, but you become kind of like viscerally less. Remembering the world of 8 months ago doesn't live in your body anymore to an extent. You know what I mean? It's like it's such a period of time where it's not that easy to. If that was a week ago, think how you were a week into the pandemic, and how you are
it
two
was
months in.
exciting a little bit. It was a little bit
Uh,
what's going to happen. Oh, something is
mm-hmm.
going on. Maybe people are going to change. Like, and a lot of
Yeah,
unknown.
we started the show from the time, right? Changing the times. So the sense of the world a week ago, if you're a week into the pandemic, the way you feel is that there was a completely different routine of life just a week
Oh yeah,
ago.
everything is still there.
It's still there.
Yeah,
It's still
right.
in
It's
my
still there.
body.
It
It's
was
still
right
the
there.
memory. Yeah, the memory, muscle memory, like the whole, like, everyone, like, most people, their daily schedule changed in some way. I know mine did. Yours did change also, for, even just putting on those masks. Some people more, some people less, their routines have changed, but some changes everyone experienced. Now, when it continues for a long time, it becomes the new routine. When you have a new routine that's being fixated into your kind of your mental understanding of yourself and the world and where you are and what you do about your life and all that, the that becomes the new normal, that becomes the new norm. And so it's harder to continue with that knee-jerk reaction of, we got to go back. You know what I mean? Just the sense of time does that. That's a it's almost, I don't know if I'm expressing this, but it's almost like when you grow up and you that's how I kind of see it. When you grow up and in your early years, and you go from like 12 to 16, that's a
Mm,
huge change. That's a
so much
huge.
emotional
You can't.
development.
Yeah, and you can't even remember how it was like to be 12, because the changes you're going through in that short amount of time, the frequency of changes is just huge. It's such a different world being 16, the desires, aspirations, and goals, and now you're into, like, what's gonna happen with my life? Do I look good? Do I, like, is anyone gonna, am I gonna, is anyone gonna hit on me? Whatever, like a teenage kind of situation. Whereas, just a couple of years ago, it was a totally different set of values and all that. And to an extent, we're going through a growth, an evolution, a maturation process with regards to the situation. And that's why I think we're gradually uh, we're falling asleep with regards to the old world, but we haven't awakened yet towards a new goal. You know what I mean? Like, we're in this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
the really good news about it, and I'm really happy to tell this to all of our audience, is that we don't have to run and do something with our hands and legs right now in order to prepare the new world, in order to go into this new world where time feels different, where relationships feel different, where we discover that there is plenty of everything for everybody. And even on this level, there's enough food. It's simple
Mm,
arrangements, simple change of public opinion, and it's some change in education. And all of a sudden, there's food for everyone. There's money for everyone. It's not happening tomorrow, but it's there already. It's not something that we need to run out and take up and go burn down buildings or go stand on the corner with a sign. What we need, because nature, we saw what nature can do in a matter of a week, 2 weeks. Nature can do anything with a volcano, uh, anything. Nature's got lots and lots of devices to
yeah.
use. What
The
our
bag of
work is,
tricks, the
what we're
bag of
doing.
tricks is very
What?
deep. Yeah.
What?
The bag of tricks is very
What'd you say?
deep.
Yes, the bag of tricks runs deep. And maybe we'll get into it a little bit more later about what'll happen next with pets and foods and other things getting the virus. But let's open the bag of tricks slowly. So create so our work now is, like we're saying, not that we have to run and do something with our hands and our feet, or go burn a building down, or go protest something, or something like that. Our first work is to start to understand what's happening, because from the thoughts, has anyone here had the experience of their, thinking about their mom and their mom called them, or walking into a room and it feels really uncomfortable? You feel in the air how uncomfortable it is. Or
Mm,
you're driving down the road. Have you ever felt somebody looking at you from another car, and you turned over and someone was looking at you? You ever been in a crowd and you felt someone's eyes on you, and there's all of these
yeah.
feelings, right? We're not even talking about spirituality. There's all of these things that are real. When you think about somebody, that enters the network and actually affects them. And we're constantly thinking horrible things about people all the time. And maybe even not totally 100% horrible, but just negative. If we were actually to be able to sit there and kind of look at all of our thoughts throughout the day, of how we're calculating against others and positioning ourselves in relation to everybody all the time, what we need to start to do is understand what kind of system we're in, understand how nature's starting to change everything. Like Asaf, you're talking about this tiredness, right? Everyone's just like, oof, until we get to a point where we can start to say, oh, what is happening? It's like out of my control now. Okay, let
Mm,
me start to look and understand what's actually happening here. Let me, and what, just even to start to understand and agree with what nature's doing with us. Now, out of 8 billion people, is a few more of us that are going with that flow, and that starts to affect the system. What would it take? I mean, it's a ridiculous example, and just give me another minute on the mic here. Ridiculous example. Of course, it doesn't work. There's too many loose parts, but just for an example, something happens to Jeff Bezos. He stubs his toe. I don't know.
okay.
God forbid his nephew gets sick for a week and he has some kind of come to God moment, and then his nephew gets better. But I'm just saying, something happens, and all of a sudden he's like, you know what? I want to take half of my $100 billion and I'm going to feed everyone who's hungry. Now, of course, too much infrastructure, too much red tape, there would be too much abuse, getting that money to the right people. But just the concept is, what would it take? That's it is one thought to come to Jeff Bezos's mind, that, you know what? I have enough billions. I'm going to start doing something else with it.
Yeah.
That's it. Right? Everything is already set up for us. The whole house is built. We just need to turn the light on now.
Yeah. You know what? I think we got to get into what does that mean? How do we turn on the light? But I caught something interesting as you were saying. Yeah, I got it. Something interesting that someone said here on YouTube. You were just talking about how we, aware of it or not, we are constantly sending these arrows of hostility towards each other. You know, it's so built into our thought process in this egoistic kind of environment that fills our world, that we're always having bad thoughts about other people. And one of the places where it is so apparent is the internet, and and comment sections under videos like this one, and chat boxes. And that is such a different thing here, with all the people connected with us right now on this show. And I think we have a new Ya Booey Goofy. That's the nickname. Pretty
No,
cool.
no, no, bro. That's yeah, boy.
Yeah,
Goofy.
boy, Goofy. Okay, sorry for butchering your nickname. Um, so I think he or she is new here, but anyway, they said, "What a great chat box, by the way. Really peaceful people." And you know what? That's a precious thing that we have here. That's an amazing thing that we can have and we need to have with more and more people. Just creating these spaces, these pockets, these islands at first in our dog eat dog world, where people can come into some space where they feel safe, where they feel respected, where they feel honored, where they don't have to be similar to the other party, the other person, the other people that they're in contact with, in order to gain their respect. You know, you've noticed how, you know what I mean? Everything becomes divisive. Everything becomes politicized. And with COVID, we kind of have we have the opportunity to to um, to flip the situation or to exacerbate it. And unfortunately, in so many cases, we exacerbate it. You know, let's fight about whether we should put on masks or not put on the masks. Let's fight about who's leading who's managing the crisis better and who's managing it worse. Let's fight about should we vaccinate or not vaccinate. Let's fight about, you know what I mean? In and It's specifically in these threatening moments that we actually have an opportunity to do the opposite, to build a greater strength and a more solid foundation of safety in our connection with each other, in respecting each other, in recognizing that we're in the same boat. So that right there is, you gave the Jeff Bezos example, and I'm saying, this is also a collective consciousness issue. If we start, what's the word when you create a ripple effect, like a chain reaction? If we start these positive thoughts, these pockets of positive interactions and positive relationships, positive thoughts between people, doesn't matter where they're from. I'm sure there are people watching this show, who are more leaning left politically or leaning right politically, or living in. We have people here from all over the world. We already know that. So, you know, definitely it goes beyond differences of mentality, background, politics, language, religion, and culture. And so it just goes to show the only thing that can unite us, I would say, and that's a big statement, but I think I would argue the only thing that can unite us is recognizing the natural laws that govern all of us, that are beyond, who's the leader right now, what's on the news, what the mainstream media is saying, or whether, you think you should or shouldn't put on a mask. One way or another, we're all bound by these laws of nature. And the more we
The
recognize
one,
nature's plan, the more united we can be. Go ahead.
there's that simple law in nature. I mean, kind of the fundamental of everything. Listen up, everybody. The fundamental of everything is to receive pleasure. But that's the beginning. That's the end of the whole gig. The whole concept that we're talking about here is,
Mm,
like we said at the beginning of the show, you can do a cute trick where you like turn the hand of the clock back 1 hour and think that, like, ooh, like, did anyone notice like did a little sleight of hand trick here? Like, nothing actually changed,
mm,
just little bit affected us but there's no fundamental change. We're still on those three dimensions in that six axes, whatever it's called, grid
Okay.
there, moving
Yeah.
in those directions. Um, I'm trying to tie in now the question of what's after capitalism and Sushi Smita's question about how to turn on the light. Um, the whole gig, the whole game of life, the whole thing that we're trying to do, the reason why I scratch my cheek or move my glasses or do that, or you decide to drink the coffee or the water, it's all just pleasure all the time. There's just like this line of software running inside. How can I get the most pleasure right now? How can I get the most pleasure right now? How can I get the most pleasure right now? And depending on that, every single person here, every single person, every single creature everywhere is just running this piece of software. So, what comes after capitalism, and how do we turn on the light, and what is the great transition, and all of that? It's through this gradual process of first understanding who we are. We are this creature who must receive pleasure. That's how we're created, just like everything else in reality. Then we start to understand, with what do we receive pleasure? Well, I got a mouth, I got a nose, I got eyes, I got hands, right? So I can receive like how much, like how much can I possibly like shove in to receive? Then we understand that at a certain point, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. No matter how much I shove in, I end up empty.
Mm.
A few hours later, a few minutes later, the next day later. So how do we get beyond? How do we go just switching, basically switching what we receive pleasure from, right? Like you said, the difference between a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old, same creature, wants to receive pleasure. Something inside of him changed. Before, he received pleasure from playing outside with his friends. Now he receives pleasure from thinking about going out with his girlfriend, right? It's the same. It's just that what gives him pleasure changes. So now the world that we're leaving, we all got pleasure from exploiting everyone else. That's it. The new world, well, I don't want to give it away in one sentence because it won't have any emotional impact to just say what is in the new world. I think let's try not to give it away in one sentence
No.
because it
Okay.
won't have any emotion behind it. But
Okay. So you were on um you were connecting the connecting to that question, how do we turn on the light, right, which we asked a couple minutes ago. And and you're essentially saying we got to change, we got to replace the program through which we receive pleasure is what we have to do. This is what's happening here. So for all of human evolution, from the less conscious part of it, where we were mostly driven by instincts and, just food, sex, family, shelter. Oh, you got a nice cave. Wow, I'll build a bigger cave. Oh, let's hunt that mammoth together. Maybe we can get more mammoths for, for dinner. Oh, you know what? We can save some space and put a fence over it and call it ours, and then we'll have mammoths for the next month or whatever. And from that kind of development of humanity to all the way to the modern world, all it is really is just a more refined way of trying to absorb pleasure. That's all it is. Now, is it possible that we're looking at a fundamentally a fundamental transition in how we're going to receive pleasure in the future?
oh
So,
baby,
so that would mean that it's not just how we're going to receive pleasure that's going to change, it's also the quality of pleasure that's going to change. You know, Infinitely different and infinitely greater. I mean,
a really rich guy, he gets he makes all his money, and then he gets to a certain time of his life, some Wall Street guy or
yeah,
some
okay.
whoever, right? Some Hollywood guy. He makes a ton of money, and he gets to his 60s, his 70s. He's thinking about his life. He's thinking about his legacy. So he donates a wing to a hospital, or he donates a library to the university. And above it, it says, David Geffen Hospital, or
Yeah.
whatever, some guy, and it's he's actually spending money there. So before it was to get more money made him feel powerful. It's the same thing as like I'm saying from the 12-year-old to the 16-year-old. Now he's looking for honor, right? Before maybe he was looking for money. So it's again between the 50-year-old guy and the 60-year-old guy.
So it's different style, different shape, same incentive.
Different shape, same. Yeah, how can I get pleasure?
Same
Now I'm getting
drive.
pleasure by people. I'm gonna The
Yeah.
guy thinks to himself, I'm gonna die one day, so let me put my name on this building so that I can kind of live, and through that receive, try and receive pleasure. People will say how great I am, or what a generous person I am, or something like that. So again, we're still,
Okay,
but
okay. And
it's
and
in.
based on that, let's take it another step forward. Based on that drive of living for ourselves, essentially living to fulfill our burning desire to receive pleasure individually. Based on that, we've built an entire world. We've built systems on systems on systems that are all relying on the notion that the individual human seeks to maximize pleasure for self. And now, if COVID is indeed the messenger of the Great Transition, if COVID is not just a fluke, if COVID is this new program that is now reshaping the human network, then essentially what it's doing is it is gradually paralyzing all of those systems that we've built with the intention of living for ourselves. And that sets the stage.
Okay, just when you do that, do it in
Yeah.
like kindergarten language so I can follow you.
Okay, let me switch
You're like, I see you.
the
You're like putting
menu.
on your like big boy pants, and you're like starting to come out with like this big. I'm like, keep it simple for me here. So you're like putting on your boxing gloves. You're like, now when we do that, first thing you're gonna do.
Ah, nice,
I'm like,
nice.
oh boy, I didn't study. I didn't. I should have studied last night. I knew I should have studied.
Oh man, I'm looking for someone to save me from the chat to say they
Oh, there's a lot of
understand.
questions in the chat. Bright sent a lot of questions in the chat. You want some questions?
Let's.
I didn't want to just derail you from where you're going with that.
No, no, no.
I just wanted to understand
No,
you
but
better.
I'm looking to see if we're making sense to someone. That's
Okay, let's
let's
ask a few questions here,
let's
and then
look at some questions. Yeah, and we'll
we'll
continue based
okay.
on that. Yeah.
All right. Uh, G, Gizem Alper on YouTube. I always wonder. Some
Okay.
people got affected a lot, others barely got affected. What's the difference?
Right. I think someone asked exactly that couple Thursday as well. Probably it's on a lot of people's mind as we see that a lot of people get affected by COVID and some people not at all or very little. Yeah. Um, I would say I'll try to give a short answer. Help me here. Um, I would say that we're all affected by it. We're all affected by it, but everyone feels it according to their character and necessity to feel it based on the change they need to go through. You know what I mean? It's like if it's windy outside and we're all outside, we're all going to be affected. For some people, it's going to be very cold. For some people, it's going to be less cold. It also depends on what you wear. It also depends on what climate you grew up in. You know what I mean? So it's an influence that is shaping the entire human network, and yet every node in the network now turns only to the amount that it needs to. I also think that some of the changes we go through are unconscious. I would argue that a lot of the changes that we're going through due to COVID are not necessarily things that we feel right now consciously because they're systemic
And
changes.
things like, yeah, things like if you we don't we if we had the right eyes, if we had the right glasses, we would understand certain things. Maybe um, a certain business clothing closing looks bad, but in a sense, it's not something actually it's actually correct. It just feels wrong. Like when I go to a gym, if I just isolate that experience, like as I'm lifting the weight, you could say if I just isolate that 1 second in my life, it's a bad, painful second. But if you look at the frames on both sides of it, you see it's not. Um,
Yeah.
Tyrion Lewis, who I don't, maybe he's a new friend here, asks, "Is pleasure bad?" No, Tyrion, pleasure is the whole purpose of the whole game. The whole purpose of creation is to fill us with pleasure. The whole issue that we're having is the way that we're doing it is destroying everything. It's like a cancer cell who doesn't understand. Now there's a reason for that, and we talk about that in the CobU courses, and sometimes we get a chance to get into it here of why we are opposite, and that actually nothing that's happening is wrong. We just don't judge a green banana as a bad banana. You just have to understand where we are in the development, and the whole purpose of our show and what we're going through is how do we go through this in a comfortable and kind of above time way instead of slothing, slugging through.
Mm.
Okay, Asaf, here's another question for you from Samuel Lima on
Okay.
YouTube. One
Okay.
of our teachers stated, okay, so he's talking about one of the authors of the Zohar. One of our teachers stayed in a cave for many years. He did not have COVID to complain about fatigue. What's the difference between him and us?
Oh boy.
You have 10 seconds and good luck.
Oh man. No. This is
Take one aspect of the question.
no. I don't even know. I don't even know how to break this down to a something short and sweet and simple. Maybe you can do a better job at it. Go ahead.
Really? Okay. Well, first of all, I would say that we don't have anything to understand or to touch as like a kid in the playground talking about with a
Yeah,
basket little
that's.
ball talking about Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
It's so far from what I mean. We're talking about people who attained beyond time, space, and motion. So there's that. There's another thing of like if you're 12 16-year-old kid is sitting there with a big cup of whiskey in front of him, and you're sitting with your friends with a cup of whiskey, so you and your friends are all enjoying it, and your 16-year-old doesn't even want to touch it, doesn't even want to smell it. So the point is, like, when we talk about what causes the fatigue, what causes the fatigue is that I don't have a goal in life. I don't see what's happening. But if I see in front of me something compelling, if I see in front of me something great, then I'm not fatigued. Even if I only slept a few hours last night, I'm not fatigued. So I can be in a cave if I'm with my beloved in a cave, um, and we're inspired, and the goal is in front of us, and we understand the now, of course, you have to sleep at a certain point and all those kind of thing, but um, sorry, I just saw Nocturnal Exterior
Samuel,
Road, drinking is for losers.
yeah, you're asking
It was
you're
just an
asking about
example,
the
man.
authors of the Zohar. We that's what what he wants to know about. We either do a whole episode on that, or we direct him to a
Just move
wonderful
on.
course. There is a great course called
There we go.
Enter the Zohar. It's on CobU, and you should look into it. And maybe you will like the instructor, which is very
Okay.
similar. He looks very much like Seth, very much like him. He has a different name, a bit more, and is a bit more kind of stylish, uh, a bit more good looking, but he's kind of like Seth. So check out Enter the Zohar course on CobU. Um,
Okay. Enough about that. Matthew Kurian on
yeah,
YouTube is
still
asking,
wants
what
to
will
know.
replace capitalism?
Oh boy,
What
what
will
will?
replace capitalism?
Okay, time me, time me. You're timing me.
Seriously?
Okay,
You're going to give us
yeah.
the answer? Okay. And I'm also going to make a timestamp here. So maybe make a clip out of this. All right. Hold on. Let me go to stopwatch. And
I
as soon as you start, I'm hitting go.
what will replace capitalism? Both capitalism and communism are doomed to fail. Communism fails much faster than capitalism. That's the whole difference. In the long term, they both must fail because they both reach a point where there is an unsustainable disparity of power. So in communism, it happens by oppressing people directly, and then a lot of power is concentrated in the hands of a few, which is unsustainable, causes revolutions, wars, bloodshed, violence, etc. In capitalism, it's a much more gradual situation until the power is super consolidated in the hands of a few and a lot of people are left below. Look at what you have today. 90% of the wealth of the world is held in the hands of like the top 1% and a lot of other statistics like that. And this is where it's going. So long term, thank you. Long term, wait, show it again. Yeah, okay. So long term, we lost it. I got more time now. So okay. Long term, capitalism also doesn't work. Now, I'm not. Capitalism still is definitely much better than communism because it has more longevity and it creates less suffering for humanity. But ultimately, it is also unsustainable. What we're gonna have to do is to reward the balancing act of the between the individual and society and the rest of nature. So we're going to have to create a completely new society where the economics of it are just one reflection, one aspect of a more fundamental change of consciousness, where human beings will begin to manage their giving and taking from each other, because that's economy at the end of the day. Forget about the stocks and banks and numbers and all that. It's just, a distraction. What's behind it is people giving and taking from each other according to laws that they come up with. So we're going to have to manage our giving and taking from each other with a different aim, with the aim of not who is the winner is the one who can take the most and give less, but rather how can we all give and receive from each other in a way that we create balance and prosperity for everyone, as well as balance with the natural system. That's going to be success. That's going to be climbing up the economic ladder. The people who will contribute more to that balance will get more resources. You're not necessarily going to have equality of resources, but you're going to have a situation where the goal towards which everyone is working is balance rather than self-hoarding and self-accumulation. That's all I can say in 5 minutes. What did Seth give me here? 5 minutes, whatever.
You did way better than 5 minutes. You did that in...
I was more?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Nice.
You could even cut it down. Yeah. That was
all right.
Great.
There you go. 3 minutes.
In short, so give me the 4-sentence version.
Oh no! Come on,
Come on.
The 4-sentence version. Capitalism
what will replace capitalism?
What will replace capitalism is a system of rewarding the individual for the balancing act, that for his contribution to balance with in human society and with the rest of nature. That's essentially the one thing that needs to change. Then all your measurements. We're condensing here like hours and hours into a few minutes and sentences. But essentially, by changing that goal, you're going to have to change everything else. Right now, you're measuring GDP, for example. That's the holy grail of capitalism, right?
In GDP, if you have a couple that gets divorced and they have 2 air conditioners instead of 1 air conditioner and 2 refrigerators instead of 1, that's good for the GDP.
Of course, and their attorneys, you have to pay for their attorneys as well, and they
horrible. So basically, through public opinion, through a big goal, through education, and through public opinion, and we can get into all 3 of those things and why they're all needed. We can talk about it more. The one who is a giver is the one who becomes famous. He's the one that people are into. He's the one that people look up to. And the one who is exploiting others, he's the one who's looked down on by society. So if you imagine every movie now, it's don't try and imagine what that looks like. It's too premature. But imagine every mafia movie, every gangster movie, every villain, all the
No,
movies,
you
right?
just mentioned the Bezos example, right? Do you think that people will that hoarding as many zeros as you can in your bank account will be
Well, everyone is
appreciated
starving around
in
you,
yeah.
right? If everyone would look at this guy like it's disgusting. No, it's not a
But
judgment about the guy. It's
but if you have more zeros and you do with them more to create balance
so
and
now you're the
prosperity
most
for
praised of
all,
everyone.
now that's where Socrates, I think, said that was there's a reason why these ancient philosophers are smart. It's because they took everything from Kabbalists, but we'll get to that in a different episodes. But he said, the merit of a man is what he does with power, and to an extent, this is what we're talking about. That's the whole concept of the wisdom of Kabbalah. The more ego, the more desire that you have as a human being, you're not supposed to get rid of it or apply self-mortifications to yourself and minimize yourself and restrict yourself. No, you're supposed to learn how to use your desire as a conduit to bring abundance to this world. And then that abundance flows through you to the whole system. And that's where we're going. And we have to come full circle here, Seth.
That was beautiful.
We have to.
You have 30 seconds.
What? No, you're supposed to do it. How does that have to do with the fatigue, the coma
right.
we're in right now?
We have friends with us from Egypt, from Spain, Turkey, Arizona, Nigeria, Hebron, Quebec, Florida. Before I go on, remember, wherever you are in the world, there's other friends like you going through what you're going through. We are doing this together. We're here with you every Tuesday and every Sunday, 2 p.m.
Thursday and Sunday.
Sorry, every Thursday and every Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Wait, while I stopped you, it's important to mention new channel. Say something about the new channel.
We're moving to a new YouTube channel. It'll be the Great Transition channel on YouTube. We'll tell you all about it. Don't worry. It's going to happen in a couple weeks.
Even less. Very soon. Yeah.
Okay. Friends from Florida, Oregon, Brooklyn, United Kingdom, North Carolina, Chile, Spain, Toronto, Ghana, and South Africa. In our thoughts, that's where we're starting this whole great transition. We're agreeing what nature's doing with us. We're starting to see how it's happening. We're starting to learn about it. And Funny Games 93 asks, are these courses of enough to learn Kabbalah? Funny Games 93, if you go through the Kabbu courses, you will get all of the method of Bala Sulam and the Rabash, and you'll understand what is the reality beyond time, space, and motion. You'll understand who you are. You'll understand where we are in the system. You'll get the chance to integrate with other people who are in this and then join all of the world group of students, the thousands and thousands of students learning from the Kabbalist every day. Thank you, everybody. Awesome show, Asaf. I got a song if you're cool with me playing one from here.
You got a song for us. All right.
I got a song for us by our awesome friend Lawrence in Israel.
All right,
ready?
Let's do it. See you on Thursday, everybody. Go for it.
We wanna know what makes your heart sing. We do.
Yeah.
We wanna know does connection get you boiling? We do.
Beyond the six axes.
We want you to know that you make our heart sing. You do.
What's after capitalism?
We need you to know this connection got us boiling. You do.
When in a system where all our hearts will sing together equally.
We come to tell you of the future.
and waking up to a new reality.
And we all come to be as one. We wanna know, do we make your heart sing? We do. We wanna know if we can sing this love song to you. We want you to know that you make our hearts sing. You do. And we need you to know we sing this song to bring joy to you. We are living in a world of love.
Don't trust your
We're
eyes.
singing all in one song of love.
Don't trust what you feel right now.
The reason for living is to be giving love
There's only love all around.
in the